Okay, welcome to a deep dive, and this one is, well, it's incredibly personal and really powerful.
It really is. We've got source material here that's not your usual data report or news analysis.
No, it's a story, a compelling story about one person, Alina, and her journey with English reading.
And it's not just about getting better at a skill, is it? It's about this complete, transformation of her life.
Exactly. We often think about language learning as, ticking boxes, grammar, vocab, maybe some speaking practice.
Right. Check, 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 check.
But this deep dive into Alina's story, it shows us something much, much richer. It's moving from genuine struggle.
Oh, yeah, real struggle.
To finding this profound confidence, feeling lost, and then finding this powerful voice all through, just reading.
It sounds simple, but it's huge. And our mission here really is to slow down and unpack why. Why was reading so transformative for her?
Right. To understand how it wasn't just about, say, getting a job, those external doors, but how it opened doors inside her, building that confidence from the ground up, connecting her to the world in ways she just didn't expect.
Yeah, we want to really dwell on those specific moments, those little insights in her story to get it.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. The source material lays it out pretty clearly. We meet Alina. She's 22.
Young, full of dreams, big ones, specifically travel writing, seeing the world, sharing those stories.
But there's this big hurdle right away.
Yeah.
Her attitude towards reading, especially English reading.
Yeah, the source says she just found it boring.
Plain and simple. Boring. She preferred videos, which, let's be honest, is pretty relatable for a lot of people today.
Totally. And if someone gave her a book...
Polite smile, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And onto the shelf it went. Untouched.
Which is such a contrast because her parents were teachers, right? They loved books.
Exactly. Her mother had this beautiful saying, "Books are like doors, Alina. Open one, enter a new world."
But for Alina, English books weren't doors. They felt like puzzles.
Yeah, puzzles. Too hard, too slow. Just this frustrating barrier, really.
Yeah.
Standing between her and that world her mom talked about.
And that barrier became, painfully real when she started actually trying to become a travel writer.
She'd apply for jobs,
right.
Put everything into it, but nothing. Or worse, feedback saying her English writing needed work.
And that highlights something key, doesn't it? That link between reading and writing that people often miss.
Oh, definitely. You can often get by speaking, maybe understand basic conversations.
Sure.
But that depth, that nuance, the rhythm you need for good writing, it always comes from reading a lot. You just sort of absorb it.
You soak it up, yeah. Almost without realizing.
And then came the moment.
Yeah.
The Forest talks about this application, famous travel magazine, her absolute dream job.
The call was for a storyteller who sees the world differently. Sounds amazing.
It does. But the application had this specific requirement. For Alina at that time, it was daunting. Write a short English story.
Just one page.
Literally one page. And write her thoughts on it.
And her reaction, the source says she just froze.
Completely froze.
Yeah.
That single page, this tiny task, felt like a mountain.
Wow.
She opened the link. Simple story, boy, and a polar bear. But reading it was, a real struggle.
Slow going, stopping, rereading.
Took her 20 minutes.
Yeah.
20 minutes for one page.
20 minutes. Just think about that. It really hammers home how heavy that wall felt to her.
It wasn't just the time, it was the effort. Feeling totally overwhelmed by something so simple on the surface.
But this is where things start to change, right? The first crack appears in that wall.
And it's not what you'd expect. Despite the struggle, the 20-minute page, something unexpected happened. She actually enjoyed it.
Really? After all that effort?
Yeah. That simple polar bear story, read so painstakingly it made her feel something. Basic words, short sentences, but they had power. They stuck with her.
Ah, okay. So it wasn't just about decoding words anymore.
Exactly. And that feeling led to this huge aha moment finishing that one difficult page. She thought, maybe reading isn't boring. Maybe I just never gave it a chance.
Wow. That's a fundamental shift from chore to potential connection.
Precisely. And that realization, that little spark, it led to a really big decision that night.
Okay, what does she do? Does she finish the application?
No, she didn't feel ready. Instead, she made a different choice. She decided to start reading English.
Not for the job.
Not for the job, not for school, purely for herself. And that internal shift, that motivation change, the source really emphasizes that as the real starting point.
That changes everything, doesn't it? When it comes from inside, from curiosity or enjoyment, not pressure.
Totally. So she started small, found free short stories online, like one called The Secret Library.
Okay.
Read them slowly, underlined words, felt proud, even if she didn't get everything.
Taking those first steps.
And the source notes this was the real beginning of change. Slowly, he says, her world began to change.
Ooh.
Well, reading started building her vocabulary naturally. Her writing got better, she got new ideas, and crucially, it made her fall in love with English.
Fall in love with it after finding it boring and like puzzles. That's huge.
It is, driven purely by reading stories she chose.
And the source mentions this initial secret she discovered.
Yes. Reading in English isn't just about learning words. It's about learning the world.
Okay, let's unpack that. Learning the world. What does that really mean for someone learning English?
I think it means shifting focus. English stops being just a school subject,
Right.
It becomes a vehicle. It's not about flashcards. It's about how words in stories unlock different views, different cultures, different ways of thinking. It connects the language right back to life.
That makes sense. So building on that spark, that new love, she started building a routine.
Yeah, the source paints a nice picture. 30 minutes every morning after breakfast, sitting by her window, connecting the book's world with the world outside.
And she was active about it, not just letting the words wash over her.
Definitely not passive. She kept the notebook, wrote down new words, expressions, and sentences she liked.
Oh, I love this part. The source says she was collecting English sentences like treasures.
Isn't that a wonderful image? It shows that enjoyment turning into this deliberate but still joyful practice.
Collecting treasures. Yeah, that says everything about how her view of the language changed. From puzzle to gems.
Exactly. But the source points to an even bigger moment. It calls it the real turning point.
Okay, I'm listening. What happened?
It was a rainy afternoon. She ducked into this dusty secondhand bookstore. You know the kind.
Oh, yeah. Small, quiet, feels like a secret.
Perfect description. She wasn't looking for anything special, just getting out of the rain.
And she met the owner.
Yeah, this kind old man. And he says something simple, almost magical. Well, books have a funny way of choosing their readers.
I like that.
And then, tucked away on a bottom shelf travel section, an English title catches her eye. Wanderer's Journal, Tales from the Road.
Ah, the chosen book finds her.
Seems like it. The source describes her finding at the cover. The author Julia Park, the simple but poetic writing about travels in 20 countries. She bought it.
And started reading it that evening.
Yes, reading about a village in Peru. And something just clicked profoundly.
How is this book different?
The source is really clear here. It wasn't just reading words. It felt like living in that story, like dreaming with eyes wide open.
Wow. So the language wasn't just conveying facts. It was creating an experience.
Totally. painting pictures, evoking feelings, opening something deep inside her.
And the impact. How much did she read?
Get this. She read the entire book twice in 1 week.
Twice. Okay, that's serious engagement. That book clearly hit differently.
Absolutely. And then the kicker. On the very last page, she finds a handwritten note from the author.
No way. What did it say?
To all dreamers, read to see, read to feel, read to become.
Oh, that's powerful. Read to become.
Right. It resonated so deeply, Alina wrote it on a sticky note, put it on her mirror, looked at it every day, smiled.
So that note, her reaction, it sums up what reading had become for her.
Perfectly. The source says reading became her mirror, a reflection of who she wanted to be. It wasn't just about English skills anymore. It was tied to her identity, her dreams. A massive leap from it being a chore.
Incredible. And this whole experience, diving deep into Wanderer's journal, it obviously boosted her English.
Yeah, but more than that, it gave her confidence. And crucially, it gave her a voice.
Okay, how did that show up?
The source notes real, concrete improvements. She felt more fluent speaking. Her writing flowed better.
And vocabulary.
Grew without effort. It just naturally, through context, not forcing it. And she started noticing how writers write rhythm, repetition, emotion, the craft.
Ah, so she's not just reading for story, but starting to see the technique behind it.
Exactly. And this led to the most exciting bit. She started writing her own travel stories.
Wow, okay, taking that step.
Yeah. Initially, just short pieces on a simple blog, steps and stories. The source is honest, grammar wasn't perfect, maybe a bit messy.
But the ideas were hers.
Honest ideas, straight from her heart. And the reaction she got, so validating. Comments like, your words made me smile. I felt like I was there. Love your writing voice.
That's amazing. People connecting with her voice, not her perfect grammar.
Exactly. They validated the feeling she conveyed. And the source links it straight back to reading. Reading showed her how stories are told, taught her the music of the language, and helped her believe she had something to say.
That cycle is just so powerful, isn't it? Reading fuels the writing. Writing builds the confidence.
Which drives more reading and writing. It's this amazing positive feedback loop.
And then the full circle moment. The travel magazine.
Oh, yeah, the incredible, almost unbelievable part. When email arrives from the exact same magazine.
The one with the scary one-page reading task. I can imagine. What a moment. Connecting that past fear with this present opportunity. All because she chose to read for herself that night.
Exactly. And the source sums it up powerfully here. Reading didn't just improve her English. It gave her a life she never imagined possible.
It really underscores that language learning, when it comes through stories you love, can genuinely change your whole life path.
So her article gets published. And she compares writing now to that initial struggle with reading.
How did it feel?
Like flying. That's the word she used. But she also had this deeper insight about where her words were coming from.
Oh, not just from her.
She realized they weren't only hers. They were tangled up with all the writers she'd read. Her realization was, we become the stories we read.
Wow. Okay, let's sit with that. We become the stories we read.
It's deep, right? It means reading isn't just about info or grammar rules. It's about internalizing perspectives, absorbing rhythms of thought, taking on the empathy in the stories.
So it shaped who she was, how she saw things, turning English from that wall into a bridge.
Exactly. And her connection with books got even deeper. She reread Wanderer's Journal again.
The turning point book.
Yeah. But this time she wrote in the margins. The source calls it a conversation with the author. Reading is this quiet, powerful exchange. Active dialogue, not just consumption.
That's beautiful. And this deeper engagement, it led her to connect with others.
It did. Her blog grew, And people started reaching out other English learners sharing their own reading struggles, just like hers.
So she could relate directly. What did she do?
She started an online reading circle, brought people together from different countries. The source really emphasizes the vibe: shy people, different accents, mistakes didn't matter, just reading together, growing together.
Yeah, and we get quotes from the group that echo Alina's journey. The guy from Turkey: English reading was only for school. Now I see it's for life.
Wow.
A teen from Brazil: I never knew reading could feel like traveling. Just these powerful shifts in perspective.
Mirroring her own path from obligation to joy.
Exactly. And when people asked her the secret, how'd you get so good at English? Her answer wasn't about drills.
What was it?
Simple. Honest. I didn't chase perfection. I just started reading, and I never stopped. Reading made me love English, and love made me learn.
Love is the engine for learning. That's an incredible insight. It just flips the whole script from task to passion.
Totally. And this led her to realize her purpose. She wasn't just reading to learn anymore. She was reading to live it, feel it, and importantly, share it. She'd become a storyteller.
Not just writing stories, but sharing the story of reading.
Precisely. And she built something real from that. The Library of Dreams took this dusty community room
And turned it into
a haven, magical space, books, comfy chairs, soft light, tea.
Sounds lovely.
Oh.
Was there a motto?
Yeah, she painted a quote on the wall. Every reader opens a door to a new world, capturing the whole point.
So the space wasn't about being good at English or grades.
No, it was about wonder. Connecting with words with yourself. People being teens, retirees, moms, curious folks. They read slowly, some struggled, some just soaked it in.
And they discovered what she did reading is about feeling, not just understanding every word.
Exactly. There's this touching example of Amir, a shy 12-year-old, thought English reading was hard, found a mystery story, and realized it was fun.
That shift again. From hard to fun, mirroring her own start.
Yeah, showing her impact, creating new cycles of discovery. And they had a reader's wall for notes.
What kind of things did people write?
Oh, really heartfelt stuff. I cried, made me laugh, felt written just for me, made me feel young again. Showing that deep emotional connection.
It wasn't just language practice. It was human connection through stories.
Right. And the source links reading to empathy, too. When you read, you live another life. And when you live more lives, you understand more people.
That expands the impact way beyond just skills or voice. It's about how you relate to everyone.
And her own influence grew. More articles, speaking gigs online, blog reach. But the source stresses she wasn't famous or textbook perfect. She was just real.
And that resonated.
Hugely. Letters came from all over, people sharing how her story, her advice impacted them. She realized her library of dreams didn't need walls.
So taking it global.
Yeah, the library without walls. Digital books designed for learners, slow audio, notes, reflection questions, bringing stories anywhere.
Making it accessible.
Exactly. The first book, The Window Reader, reached folks in refugee camps, Japan, Nigeria. And this message from Nigeria just sums it up. English reading is not a skill, it's a light.
Wow. Another powerful redefinition. A light.
Isn't it? And despite all these global invites, Vietnam schools, Canadian podcasts, European publishers, she stayed grounded.
How so?
The source mentions the dusty bookstore, the reading room, the park reading circle, that park circle where accents and mistakes just vanished, leaving only reading together.
Keeping those roots.
Yeah. And her advice to a young girl in the park wanting to write. So simple. Begin here. Begin with your heart.
Bringing it back to the core.
It summarizes her journey. Quiet growth through reading, loud impact, giving courage, giving voice, a movement without noise, a journey without end.
And the story comes full circle in the final section, right?
Sure.
Her return home.
Yeah, back to her village school. The source describes the feeling gratitude, memory. She's in the same auditorium where she once felt small, voice trembling.
But now?
Calm? Sure. She shares her story honestly. Wasn't brave, wasn't fast, loved stories. One book changed everything.
Which book did she mention?
She holds up Anne of Green Gables, her first English novel read slowly, honestly, and with love, learning to feel the language, live inside it. And she also mentioned A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, how that relationship evolved.
Right. That one was a struggle initially, but now it feels like an old friend she revisits, showing growth over time.
She lays out the whole path for the students, the ups and downs.
Yeah, the struggles, lonely bits, joy, heartbreak, starting again, and how that journey from one page led her to connect worldwide.
Then a student asks that key question, isn't English just useful if you want to leave?
Ah, yes, the escape tool idea and Alina's answer. So powerful.
What'd she say?
She said English didn't just help her leave, it helped her stay. Stay true to herself, stay open, strong in her dreams wherever she was.
Wow. Not an escape tool, but a tool for deeper self-understanding right where you are.
Exactly. Then she visits the village library, finds her own book, The Listening Path, on the shelf.
That must have been quite a feeling. Belonging, coming home.
Yeah, crystallizing that idea. You never really leave your beginnings. You return not as the person who left, but as the one who grew.
Beautifully put. And the final image.
A young girl runs up, notebook in hand, asks Alina to read her story, and Alina just says, I'd be honored.
Passing the torch. The story continues.
Perfectly reinforcing the whole message. When you read, you don't just discover books. You discover yourself. And when you share your story, you help others find theirs.
And her final whisper in the story.
This is only the beginning.
Yeah.
Leaves you feeling it's all ongoing.
Yeah.
For her, for anyone who reads.
Alina's story, as we've dug into it, it's just this profound reminder, isn't it? English reading is so much more than a skill.
So much more. It's self-discovery, connection, finding your voice.
And it really validates the learner's experience. It's okay to struggle, go slow, not get everything. Her journey shows the process driven by love is what counts.
Right. And the payoff isn't just, more words. It's living other lives, building empathy, understanding people deeply.
And ultimately empowering you to become the storyteller of your own life. It just challenges that whole utilitarian view of language learning. It's about growth, connection.
So, inspired by Alina, here's a thought maybe to carry forward from this deep dive. What story will you start reading today?
Knowing that just opening a book, reading one page slowly, honestly, with love, might just help you write your own next chapter.
Maybe take that small step Alina took. One short story, one page. Read it slowly.
Don't sweat understanding every word. Focus on the feeling, the pictures it makes, the questions it asks.
See what treasures you can find, yeah. One sentence at a time.
And maybe share this story, this insight with someone else struggling with English reading, because sharing the journey, sharing that light, that's a huge part of it too.